The stone floor felt cold against her knees. Cinderella scrubbed until the grit beneath her nails turned to pain. Above her, a sharp finger tapped the air, tracing the path of a single speck of dust. She did not look up. She wiped the tile clean and shifted, her joints aching. Outside, a golden trumpet blasted, fracturing the silence. The house erupted in motion as the others rushed toward the carriage, leaving the doors swinging open against the dark. Silence reclaimed the kitchen. Cinderella walked into the garden, her breathing heavy. She knelt by the rose bush, fingers brushing the damp earth. The air suddenly thickened. A steady, rhythmic ticking began to pulse beneath the ground, vibrating through the soles of her feet. From behind an ancient oak, a man stepped forward. He held a golden clock that flared with rhythmic light. He waved his hand, and the darkness around them fractured, replaced by a glow that mirrored the night sky. He knelt, placing 2 silver slippers on the grass. "These reveal the truth of the heart," he whispered. The ticking stopped. Cinderella stared at the light, the weight of the day falling away as the garden transformed. The palace echoed with the sharp cadence of 1,000 dancing feet. Music surged through the hall, vibrating against the marble pillars, yet Cinderella moved with a quiet, deliberate pace. Near the center of the crowd, a waiter stumbled, his tray tipping toward the stone floor. Glass shattered. The surrounding guests stepped back, their expressions cold. Cinderella did not hesitate. She knelt, gathering the scattered silver and steadying the man with a firm, calm hand. She whispered a few words of reassurance, helping him back to his feet before standing to face the room. Nearby, the musicians struggled with a broken string. She stepped toward them, offered a nod of encouragement, and they regained their tempo. From the balcony, the prince observed the scene. He ignored the faces of the nobility, his gaze fixed on the woman who looked at the room with eyes that saw people, not status. He descended the stairs, cutting through the throng of guests. He stopped before her, the noise of the ballroom fading into the background. He reached out, taking her hand. She accepted, and they began to move together. The floor seemed to clear around them as the rhythm of the dance bound them in a singular, focused motion. The music hit a final, frantic peak. The hall blurred as the dancers spun, but the tempo was losing its hold. The clock in the foyer began its rhythmic countdown, the heavy tolling echoing against the high ceilings. Far from the dance floor, a shadow detached itself from the crowd. The stepsister moved through the side corridors, her pulse thumping against her throat. She pushed open the heavy oak door of the dressing room. Inside, the air was still and smelled of stale wax. She moved to the vanity where the silver slipper sat, catching the faint light from the distant ballroom. Her hands trembled as she fumbled with the latch on her own bag, pulling out a heavy, dull replica. She reached for the magical shoe, her fingers slick with sweat. The door groaned on its hinges and she froze, heart hammering, waiting for footsteps that never came. She snatched the silver slipper, tucking it deep into her cloak, and shoved the fake, rigid shoe onto the velvet cushion in its place. The replacement looked cold and lifeless compared to the original. She backed away, slipping into the dark hallway just as the final chime of the clock vibrated through the floorboards. The palace was falling into a sudden, expectant silence. The morning sun cut through the dust of the foyer as the prince stepped inside, the velvet cushion held steady in his hands. The stepsister pushed forward, her breath shallow. She snatched the shoe from the cushion and forced her foot inside. The room went cold. The silver sheen vanished instantly. The shoe hardened, sagging under its own weight until it clattered to the floor as a lump of dull gray lead. The crowd gasped, recoiling from the sight of the failed magic. Silence stretched thin. Then, the floorboards creaked. Cinderella stepped out from the shadows of the hearth. She approached the center of the room with a steady, measured pace. She did not look at the leaden mess on the floor. She reached for the cushion, her fingers brushing the cold metal of the real slipper. She slid her foot inside. The reaction was instantaneous. A blinding, pure silver light erupted from the base of the shoe, surging upward like a geyser. It slammed against the ceiling and washed over the walls, casting flickering star patterns across the faces of the stunned onlookers. The clockmaker stepped from the back of the room, his golden device ticking with a rhythmic, steady pulse. He pointed toward the light. The truth was no longer hidden. The brilliant light receded, leaving the foyer bathed in a soft, steady glow. The prince did not linger. He took Cinderella by the hand and walked past the stunned guests, out the heavy front doors, and away from the suffocating history of the house. Their departure signaled the end of a long, cold era. As they began their reign, the kingdom shifted. They opened the palace gates to the weary, replaced iron-fisted decrees with mercy, and ensured that no door remained locked to those in need. Compassion became the foundation of their governance. Years flowed into decades, and the kingdom flourished under a new, steady rhythm. In the grand hall of the palace, the silver slippers were placed upon a high pedestal. They did not tarnish or fade with time. Instead, they pulsed with a faint, rhythmic light, mirroring the steady tick of the clockmaker's golden device. The shoes remained a permanent testament to the power of a simple, kind spirit. Travelers from distant lands often stopped to look at them, marking the spot where a life of labor turned into a legacy of grace. The doors stayed open, and the light never went out.